Serious research for a polio vaccine had been going on for years, but in 1947, Jonas Salk began his research for a polio vaccine at the University of Pittsburgh. He started by identifying the 3 strains of the polio virus. He finished this part of his work in 1949. Salk believed that a killed polio virus would expose the body to polio in a weak enough form to allow the immune system to fight off an infection without endangering the patient. In 1952, Dr. Jonas Salk found a vaccine he was willing to test. Salk used patients with polio at the D.T. Watson Home. The test results showed that the level of immunity went up. Salk prepared to announce his discovery at the next major scientific gathering, which was to be in January of 1953. Salk expected Dr. Albert Sabin, who was also trying to develop a successful polio vaccine, and Sabin's followers to reject his idea. Salk made sure that he was ready for any objections that they might have. Finally, in 1954, the scientific community agreed to the field trials. 1 million children were involved in the first field trials of the vaccine. His first results were discouraging, but Jonas Salk continued to work on the vaccine until 1955, when the vaccine was ready to be mass-produced and distributed among the American citizens. The number of polio cases dropped significantly, but polio still wasn't eradicated. In 1961, Albert Sabin developed an oral polio vaccine. The Sabin vaccine was what really led to the eradication of polio. Dr. Sabin performed his field trials in Eastern Europe, and therefore his vaccine got much less publicity than Salk's. Sabin's vaccine was made with a live but weakened virus.
When you took that vaccine, you were contagious, but not sick. You could pass on your vaccination to people in your household, people that you worked with or went to school with. Even though they may never have taken the vaccine, they could catch, so to speak, the immunity.
There was also the added benefit that the Sabin vaccine was not a shot. Instead, it was a liquid that could be either administered on a sugar cube or squirted directly into the mouth. The primary drawback of the live vaccine was that there was a slight chance that a vaccinated person could contract polio from the vaccine. In the 1990s, the Sabin vaccine was no longer used for vaccination. Today, the Salk vaccine is combined with the routine vaccination that is given to infants. Without the help of many influential people, we would still be waging war on polio today. The ultimate triumph over the tragedy of polio occurred because of political will, improved public awareness, caring communities, and dedicated research. Not only was a vaccine discovered, but we also learned the logistics of how to conduct a huge fundraising effort and the importance of inoculating a nation, which led to the eradication of polio in the United States. Polio had a lasting impact on many aspects of modern life. For instance, more money has been sent to AIDS research because Jonas Salk had begun his work to find a cure for AIDS before he died. The inoculation effort for polio eradication strengthened our health systems as well as raising confidence in their abilities. However, polio is not gone. Many underdeveloped countries are still living with the tragedy of polio. Even Americans are living with the effects of post-polio syndrome, which causes continual pain and difficulty. Unfortunately today, 10% of children in the United States under the age of 3 haven't been vaccinated against polio, when years ago parents would have driven for hours to have their children vaccinated. Polio should not be forgotten. Polio was, and always will be, the tragedy of a nation that led to a medical triumph for the world.
Okay, we're going to show you a performance in just a minute, but did you hear the words triumph and tragedy over and over again in here?
An impact.
An impact, and at the end they carried that on out. So what? We have a polio vaccine. What difference did it make? What was the social, political, and economic impact of that vaccine? You could see it at the very end, and they even addressed, well, what about polio in the world today? It's still around, right? We're still, in some developing nations, grappling with the disease. We're going to hook this up and show you a little bit about performance, but before we do that, Mrs. Tyler is going to tell you about the new website that she has created just for you and the kids.
Can I say one thing
Yes,
more?
go ahead.
On this documentaries, you need a combination of still shots and video clips. We have quite a good collection of video clips here at school that kids can come and look through to see if there's anything that we have that they can use. We collected over all these years. We've got a whole room full of them. So we will, you know, the kids are available. All these things are available for them to check out, take home and use, or use up here, whatever. But we do have a lot available, books and videotapes and still shots that can be used for quite a few subject areas. Okay.
Everybody, one of your handouts today was a letter that says, "Dear Pre-AP Parents," it's dated today's date, and it's signed the CSMS Social Studies teachers. If you are one of my parents and I saw you on open house night, you've got one of these. This is a link to our History Day website, and you'll notice the class name, username and password are Tyler7, because I originally created it for my class, and then we thought, wouldn't this be a great way to pass on information to you as the parent of a History Day kid? It's pretty easy to get to. I've pulled up a computer so that I can show you later if anybody wants to stick around and see. It's at scholastic.com, the same people who do our book fairs. And when you first pull up scholastic.com, it's kind of a busy page. Scroll down, look to your right, and you will see options for a web page, and it'll say parent, student sign in, teacher sign in, and those options. Click on parent, student, Tyler7. My last name's Tyler. I teach 7th grade. That's where that comes from. Yeah, for those of you who didn't know. And you can link in really quickly. I try to add new things whenever I can. Just today, I found a great site that gave very detailed information on how to write a citation in the Chicago style format, or the Turabian format, which is what we use for our annotated bibliographies. So I popped that up there. If any of my parents had been checking it recently, you might have seen that I announced tonight's meeting at the end of last week. So I try to put things up there when I can, just to serve as a resource. These are things where you can log back or click on and get an idea of things or remember things. I go into detail about the National History Day site to give you some resources there. So anyhow, hopefully you can use this as a resource. It's not an end-all be-all. Your kids are getting stuff sent home almost daily, and they should be keeping it in their History Day binder. But this is just something nice to have, an extra resource if it's the night before sources are due and your kid's saying, I don't know what to do on this.
Okay. We're going to show you now